The experience has haunted me for 50 years. I never killed anyone, but I saw a lot of guys kill and get killed. We went out to run patrols, all of us. My platoon leader replaced me at point with another Marine. The guy who replaced me at point walked into a blast from a Chinese claymore mine. It blew his head and both of his arms off. We worked alongside tracked vehicles that could shoot flames. We were sure glad we had them around because it made our job of clearing out holes a hell of a lot easier. The first time I saw one shoot flames, I couldn't believe how far it went, and the whoosh sound they made was pretty scary, even standing behind the vehicle. The fire made more noise than the sound of the vehicle engine. We joked about it being a bonfire delivery service. I personally had no hate for the enemy. I never thought we should be in Vietnam, but I was smart enough to understand that if I hesitated or something like that, I would die or one of my friends would. We had been set up on a hill. When we left a position, we buried all of our garbage and filled in all of the fighting positions from the night before. In the morning, we went out to run patrols, all of us. I was walking point, as usual. We were staying off the paths to avoid booby traps. I carried a machete and was cutting my way through vines and brush. Not very quiet, but safer. By afternoon, I was exhausted. My platoon leader replaced me at point with another Marine. We ended up heading back to our position from the night before. As we walked back up the hill, we were ambushed by the NVA, who set up a perimeter at our old position. The guy who replaced me at point walked into a blast from a Chinese claymore mine. It blew his head and both of his arms off. His flak jacket protected his torso, but that was useless at that point. The NVA fired at us for a bit and retreated back into the jungle. We cleared the hill and called in medevac helicopters. Another Marine and I had to roll our point man up in a poncho and carry him up the hill, where he was eventually evacuated by helicopter. I knew him and remember what he looked like, but his name has been erased from my mind. The experience has haunted me for 50 years. Why him and not me? Why am I alive and he was blown to pieces in my place? I honestly believe that God spared me for some reason that I'm not aware of. Since then, I've tried to be a good person to repay the favor. Matt Wenzel, 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines, Vietnam, 1969. Hey everyone, Nick here from B&B. If you're looking to sell firearms quickly and for a great price, I've got just the thing for you. Cash for Arms is a high-volume business that buys guns for cash nationwide in the United States. They pay substantially more than your local gun store or pawn shop. They offer two options, a solid cash offer or a consignment auction with rates as low as 12%. Many people go for the cash offer because it's just that good. One of the best parts, Cash for Arms is an FFL, which means they're heavily regulated and providing you with a safe and trustworthy way to sell your firearms. Last year alone, they bought almost 20,000 guns. You can ship your guns directly to them, just like an Amazon return, and get paid the same day they receive them. Payment options include direct deposit or an instant payment with Zelle. It's fast and easy to sell your guns for a fair price nationwide, without driving around and getting lowballed by gun stores. Selling through Cash for Arms is the fastest way to sell guns because they're a dealer. They buy and consign fully automatic and NFA items too. If you have any guns you don't like to shoot anymore or are just looking to upgrade, give Cash for Arms a try. I know the owner personally, and I can vouch for their excellent service and fair prices. Build that trust quickly with their A+ triple B rating and stellar Google profile. Check them out and make your selling experience smooth and profitable. One thing about Vietnam that sticks out to me still is the undignified position of bodies you come across. It's a bit disturbing seeing men laying in positions that seem almost unnatural when they die. Legs twisted behind their backs, arms seemingly bent in ways that look extremely uncomfortable, if not painful. People get shot and just kind of fold up into themselves, eyes half open and mouth agape. It's disgusting in a way. This disgust and discomfort is compounded by the wounds and decomposition. Human beings can be difficult to identify as human beings. I came across a VC in the jungle whose intestines had been blown out of him. He was on his back with a huge hole in his belly. He died holding on to his intestines, and at the end, about 10 feet away, part of his guts were caught in a tree. He died trying to pull his guts back over to him. His eyes were open, and there were bugs absolutely all over him. I still think about that guy all the time. I never killed anyone, but I saw a lot of guys kill and get killed. Human bodies and the smell are something I never got used to. Other guys, it didn't seem to bother too much, but for me, it was the worst part about Vietnam. Ricky, U.S. Army Rifleman, 1st Cavalry, Vietnam, 1968. We worked alongside tracked vehicles that could shoot flames. We were sure glad we had them around, because it made our job of clearing out holes a hell of a lot easier. The first time I saw one shoot flames, I couldn't believe how far it went, and the whoosh sound they made was pretty scary, even standing behind the vehicle. The fire made more noise than the sound of the vehicle engine. We joked about it being a bonfire delivery service. The product of this was god-awful, though. I personally had no hate for the enemy. I never thought we should be in Vietnam, but I was smart enough to understand that if I hesitated or something like that, I would die or one of my friends would. But like I said, the product of this weapon was just horrible, and they didn't die quickly. The ordeal could last 1 minute or 2 minutes, just being covered in liquid fire. The VC seemed to react to these vehicles better than the NVA did. The NVA typically had better weapons and anti-armor capabilities. They could put up a fight and take us head on, but as soon as they were within range of the flames, it was pretty much game over for them. The VC, at least, had the sense to run away. That's what I would have done too. Can't call them cowards. They were anything but cowards. My experience in Vietnam isn't something I'm very outwardly proud of. I don't like to talk about it, especially all these years after the war. Sometimes it doesn't even feel like these things actually happened to me. Sometimes it kind of feels like the whole thing was one sweaty, uncomfortable dream. Nobody in normal life sees a person burned to death in a hole. The experience just doesn't seem real sometimes. War is strange like that. Lots of our dads had come home from World War II with flags, swords, daggers, etc. So I thought nothing about liberating personal items from dead VC and NVA. And the enemy didn't seem to have any problems looting us either, because we found personal items from Americans on their corpses all of the time. You could make some good money selling liberated items to sailors and other guys who stayed on the big bases. Helmets, bayonets, canteens, belts, and the like were always items we wanted to get a hold of. Flags too, if you could get them. I don't see anything wrong with taking these items. They don't need them anymore, and we weren't mutilating bodies. I personally wouldn't touch someone if they'd been dead for longer than a few hours. Something about going through someone's pockets when they were still as a log and gray just didn't sit right. Fresh dead was easier because it was almost like they were sleeping. I do think it's silly that our guys in the military today can't take any liberated items home. War has been around since before we could write about it, and so has taken trophies. War and Honor, 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines, Operation Robin, Vietnam, 1969. If you found value in that interview, please consider subscribing to my Patreon account or joining my Discord channel. I'd love to be able to do war reporting full-time, and that's a great way to help me do it. In addition, I will be returning to Ukraine this October. If you would like to support my mission to document stories from the front line, supporting me through those two avenues is one of the best ways you can do it. As always, every soldier has a story, and every single story deserves to be told. Thanks for watching.
Sector 5, this is Easy 1-3, over.